Imagine this. You've been grinding all day, every day, for 3 months straight for one single tournament. FNCS, a tournament that over a million people have competed in, and against all odds, you make it to the grand finals. You play your heart out, but at the end, you finish last, 50th. But out of everyone in that region, you are number 50. You're in the top 0.0001% of players globally in a game that millions watch and millions more play and billions of dollars are made. So what does it matter if you came last? You're already above so many. But what is your life-changing prize? $500. You've just sacrificed hundreds, even thousands of hours over a Fortnite career to be above everybody else, and in reality, you basically are. Just to realize in the Fortnite pro scene, being at the very top of the player base is still a financial failure. Fortnite competitive prize pools are incredibly top heavy. Take, for example, Europe, the biggest region. The winners of the second major, Sky and Scroll, took home $60,000 each. Now, they also won the first major, which means this is the second time doing this, and they've played at Summit LAN and a lot of other various cups. And the year is still to be done. So players like them that are at the very top of the game, I'm talking the tier 1 pros, can clear 200,000 a year just off competitive earnings alone. But we have to start looking at the rest of the lobby. For example, the 10th place team in grand final earned $8,000. In the lobby of the 50 best teams in Europe, 10th place is a massive achievement and something that you should remember. The problem? It's not enough to survive on. Imagine you come 10th place in every single tournament of the year. FNCS is hosted 2 times a year, plus all those weekly cups and so on. You're looking at around 24,000 a year on just FNCS, and maybe pushing 30,000 for in total for other cash cups and so on. Now, 30,000 is a nice chunk of change, but this is part-time job money for a grind that requires 8 hours a day through weekends and holidays. And if you try taking a break, you fall behind the power curve, and that 30,000 disappears. Sure, there are outliers. Players like Peterball have made over $1 million in earnings, but these are players with historic primes where they win year and year, just winning everything. And then we also have players that are also content creators like Clicks, for example, and Mr. Savage, who have made way more off their content ventures than competitive Fortnite earnings. And looking at Mr. Savage again, he has made around $600,000 earnings. Now, if we ignore his revenue from all the content stuff and assume he's been earning from 2019 until now, he has averaged $85,000 a year. Now, $85,000 is great to live on, but it's not exactly luxury living, especially for being at the top of the game and one of the most recognizable players on the leaderboard. And to remember this, he is the exception. He is above all of the other players on the game. Being a pro isn't guaranteed, and you will fall off. And after putting thousands of hours into Fortnite, the transferable skills just aren't there. The scene is dominated by 13 and 18-year-olds who have a bunch of time on their hands. Earning cash as a teen is great, but eventually the future dawns on you. That's why you see so many pros quit the game right around the time they turn 18. The reality of adulthood hits. They realize they need to start building skills for future jobs and careers that will last their rest of their lives. They stop grinding and they maybe play the game for fun and then tournaments until their skill eventually just falls off. And after that, that's it. We just talked about Europe, but NA Central is the second largest region and it suffers from the exact same top heavy problem. Vision Braids got ninth in the first major of this season, and they took home $6,000 each, which is very nice, of course, and an achievement they should remember and be proud of. But if you remember the 30,000 we calculated a year on Europe, assuming you get ninth on NA Central, you are now looking at maybe 18,000 from FNCS plus an extra 5k from Cash Cups. That's 23,000 a year for being one of the best players in the second biggest region in the world, and it only gets worse. If we look at NA West, the winners get 15,000 each. Assuming you literally dominate and win 3 FNCS tournaments in a year, plus an extra 10K from other cups, you are looking at around 55,000. Now, of course, for a teenager, that's very good, especially for just playing the video game. But this also means this is your prime. And in your prime, this is probably not going to happen again. And you're eventually going to fall off. And now, as an adult, you have less transferable skills than anybody else. It's going to be hard if you're on the job market. And really, you start to think about whether or not it was actually even worth it to start with. And it only gets worse from here. The winners of FNCS in OC, Middle East, and Asia get only 8,000 each, which means if you're the absolute king of your region, you would make the same amount as 10th place on Europe. And as you can imagine, anybody lower than them, they're just screwed. Imagine grinding for months and you get last place in FNCS. You're only taking home $100 for all that time and effort. I mean, just imagine you play 3 hours of the tournament each day. You're not even earning $20 an hour. As you can imagine, if you live in a small region, you are fundamentally screwed. You cannot make a living off this game unless you have something content related. And the game will not set you up for your future itself. You have to add extra time for that. So no matter how good you are, you cannot make a living on just competitive Fortnite earnings alone.